Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this iPhone 8 Plus. Alright, you're going to need a pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. You also need a PH or JIS 0, and then you also need a Y000 or one of these tri-wing 0.6 screwdrivers. Alright, another thing that will help with the repair is a thin pry tool. You can also use a suction cup, but this works a lot better. And then I'll use like a needle. Alright, and then also to make the adhesive easier to remove, we got a little heater here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is remove the 2 screws from the bottom. Of course, make sure your phone's off. I already turned it off, so yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and remove the 2 screws from the bottom using the pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. Alright, you want to keep all these screws in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can damage your phone. Alright, so the way I do that, I just remove them and put them in the pattern on my desk that I'm removing them. Alright, so we got these 2 screws out. Alright, now that we've got those 2 out, we're gonna pop the screen open. So I use the thin metal pry tool for this. So you get between the metal frame and then the plastic frame of the screen. Alright, and then you get under there. You don't want to put the tool too far because then you can damage the stuff inside. Then you want to slide the tool around, and then on the side there's actually a frame that prevents you from pushing the tool too far, so you can go ahead and push this as far as it'll go and just slide the tool down. Oh no, little shards of glass are coming out. Okay, so slide the tool all the way up and down. Then you're going to continue to go all the way around the other side again. Again, you don't want the tool to go too far because then you can damage the internal components. Alright, then we're going to go along this side, same thing. Okay, and just slide the tool up and down along the side. We're going to move the screen out of the way. Alright, and let's just go up and down along the side here. Okay. And this is just to cut the adhesive that's in there. Alright, once you've done that, it helps to kind of like twist this. If you have a tool like this, you want to twist that to pop it open a little bit, just like that. We're going to go ahead and go to the other side and do the same, but you want to be careful because on this side there's the cable connection, so you don't want to lift it too far or you can tear these connections out. So I'll pull this out and then I'll show you here. So here you can see the cable or the wire there. Okay. Let's go ahead and peel out this old adhesive. Okay, if you can grab the old adhesive, just peel that out. I'm not going to need that anymore. Alright, and also keep in mind that when you have to replace the screen, the phone is no longer going to be waterproof or water resistant. Alright, so again, we're going to hold this out slightly, but you don't want to pull it too far because the cable in there, I don't know if you can, oh, there you go. You can see it all the way up there. Alright, then we're going to also slide the tool around the top up here, pushing the screen downwards. Okay. Alright, this is to release the little clips up here because you have to actually pull the screen downwards to be able to flip it open like a book. So we're going like this. Right, then we're going to slowly open it just like that. Alright, you want to be very careful because there are all these cables right here. You don't want to damage any of them. Okay, we're going to peel out the old adhesive. Alright, you kind of want to try and get all the old adhesive out if you can, because if it creates lumps in there, it can actually make the screen easier to break. So we're going to take all this old adhesive out. They do have also some replacement adhesives, but the adhesive doesn't really do much. It might help a tiny bit with water, but not really much. So yeah. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this metal plate in here. This metal plate is super shiny for some reason. I don't know if they've had this replaced or something at some point, but anyways, we're going to remove this. Alright, let's zoom in. So to remove these, you're going to use a PH0 or JIS0 screwdriver. Let me grab that. Alright, and same thing, you want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths, and if you mix them up, you can damage your phone. Alright, so we're going to remove the screws, and then we're going to put them in the pattern that we're removing them on my desk. Just like this. Okay, so you put them in that diagonal pattern. Okay, third one. All right, and then the last screw goes just below the rest. Okay, so now that we got all 4 of those screws out, we're going to lift the metal plate up, pull it out, all right, just like that. If it's stuck, you kind of want to twist it a little bit. You don't want to just yank it straight up. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to disconnect the battery connector right there. So I just use my fingernail. You can use a plastic pry tool if you want, but I just use my fingernail, and we just pop that up. All right, just like that. Now that we have that popped up, we're going to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds just to drain any power on the main board to make it safer to work on. All right, so yeah, if this video helps you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to fix their devices or upgrade them. All right, and if it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little bit to the channel so that I can continue making these videos for a living. I actually do these repairs for a living, but as I make more and more of these videos, I actually slowly get less business, so keep that in mind. All right, so anyways, now we're going to disconnect the sensor connector up here. We're going to switch to the Y000 or the Tri-Wing 0.6. All right, so we're going to remove those 2 screws. Let me zoom in here again. All right, so we can get these 2 screws out. So this one here, again, keep all these screws in order. All right, that one, and then we got 1 screw over here that we need to get as well. Okay, now we got those 2 screws out. We're going to remove the metal plate that's covering it, just like this. All right. And this connector is a little bit tricky to remove because it's really cramped in here. But yeah, same thing. I try and use my fingernail in this gap here, and then I just pry it up. Again, you can also use like a little plastic pry tool. If I can't do it with this one, because I think I cut my fingernail a little bit short, it's going to be tough, but just pop this. Oh, there we go. All right, just like that. And there we go, we got that connector out. Now we're going to go ahead and go in this. You don't want to let the screen fall over because these cables can tear. Hopefully you guys were paying attention with that and didn't just drop the screen down. But anyways, we're going to remove the 2 connectors down here. All right, same thing, just get underneath, pop that up. Same thing with the last one, get underneath there. Okay, that's hiding under this cable. And then we're going to pop this up as well. All right, there we go. And then we'll just pull this aside. So there's still some adhesive stuck to it, so I'm gonna have to peel that off as well. Okay, if for some reason you happen to damage this cable, they do sell those on Amazon and stuff like that. I can actually send a link if you can't find it. It's about like 15-20 bucks or something, but yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and peel this up. All right, this adhesive keeps tearing, so I'm going to try and roll this to get it back out. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're done with this piece for now. Now we're going to have to remove all the sensors from the bottom, from the screen, the top and the bottom. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to remove the fingerprint sensor here. You want to be very careful with this. If you break the fingerprint sensor, you're never going to have Touch ID again. You can get the fingerprint like home button to work, but not the fingerprint sensor itself, Touch ID. All right, so let's go ahead and remove these screws. They do sell like aftermarket replacements of the home buttons, but again, the fingerprint sensor won't work. All right, oops, let me zoom in a bit here. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this screw for now, and we're just gonna remove the outer one. So I removed one already. Let's go ahead and remove the other 2. Again, keep all these screws in order. Okay, depending on your replacement screen, it may or may not come with this metal plate. If it doesn't come with this metal plate, you're gonna have to take out the 3 screws on the side here and the 3 screws on the side here. And then there's an adhesive like sticking to this cable here. Usually I will warm this up with a heater, and then I will actually peel this piece back. I actually made a video doing this on another model where I had to replace this sensor. So if you're not sure how to do that, you can watch that video. These cables are actually part of the replacement screen, so you can actually just tear this cable down here. You don't need to worry about the adhesive. You can actually peel those off later. But if you're replacing, if you're for some reason reusing this screen, then you want to be very careful with that. All right, so now that we got all these screws out, I'm going to put my finger underneath the home button, so that way when I put pressure down on this screw, it's not going to push the home button through. Okay, if you don't do this, you can actually tear the home button cable, so be very careful with that. All right, there we go. And now let's go ahead and remove this metal plate. Okay, so now to remove this connector here, it's a little bit tricky because they actually sandwich it between. So what I do is I use my fingernail here in between the connectors, okay? And then while I'm holding in between the connectors, I use my other fingernail, then I use my other fingernail to pull the connector up, just like that, to separate the two layers. And here you can see the connector that's part of the screen. Okay, and then now to remove this piece, I'm going to use the heater. It'll make it a little bit easier to work on, so I'm just going to turn this on and then leave it here to heat it up. Okay, and you don't want to get it like super hot, but where it's like hot enough that the glass can somewhat burn your fingers. If you leave it there for a few seconds, then that's hot enough. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. Another alternative, if you don't have a heater, you can actually leave this, if it's the black model, you can leave this out in the sun and it'll get hot enough that you can actually peel that off. Okay. If you want, you can also like heat the other side a little bit to make it a little bit easier. Okay, but then since you're heating the sensor directly, you want to be careful that you're not going to overheat it. Okay, it's already getting pretty hot. So we're just going to warm this up. Okay, that's probably good. Now I'm going to use the needle here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get underneath this part that has this raised plastic bit here first. All right, so underneath there, here you can see it lifts up, and then I'm going to slide the needle underneath the entire thing. Okay, so just like this. Sorry, this is hard to pay attention on what I'm filming while I'm doing this. So just like that, get the needle underneath, and then you kind of work your way over the adhesive to peel it up. All right, you want to make sure you get underneath the front here as well. All right, and then we're just gonna continue working our way over, just like that. Okay, and then once you get all the adhesive up, you should be able to lift this connector up and the home button will actually drop through here. Okay, just like that. So there we go, we got the home button out. We're going to set that aside for now. Let's go ahead and now remove the sensors up here. We're going to have to switch back over to the PH0 or JIS0 screwdriver, and we're just going to remove all these screws from here. All right, if your replacement screen has, oh, I guess no, that goes underneath. Okay, so that's on the regular iPhone 8. Anyways, let's go ahead and remove these screws. Again, keep them all in order. And all these little glass chips are kind of crackling underneath the screen. I'm gonna have to clean off my desk so it doesn't scratch anything. All right, so we got those two. Then we're gonna remove the three at the bottom. Oops. Come on, screw, get out. Okay, that screw's being tough, so I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next screw. For some reason that's not magnetized well. All right, and the last screw. There we go. All right, let's go back to this one. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna lift this metal plate off here, okay? And we'll set that to the side. All right, now we're gonna lift this camera sensor up. You don't wanna touch underneath on the lens because then it'll have a permanent fingerprint there. All right, so we're just gonna move this out of the way. And then underneath, we're gonna grab the speaker here and just take that out. All right, just like this. Okay, and we'll set that aside. Alright, so same thing here. We're going to have to use a little heat to remove these sensors because these are held in with some adhesive. So I'm going to heat that up again. Alright. Kind of just want to heat the glass so that way the glass, it keeps the warmth underneath to make it easier to peel it off. Okay, give this a few seconds. It's getting warm. Okay, let's flip it over and heat the other side a little bit. You don't want to heat this too much because then you can damage the camera, but just a little bit. Alright. Okay, just enough to where the glass can slightly burn you if you leave it there too long. Alright, now let's go ahead and remove the sensors. So up here, there's two sensors. So I use the needle underneath. You want to be very careful lifting these out, okay? I don't know if you guys can see because the color contrast, but we're gonna try and lift up underneath. So under here, this sensor is folded under. Let me see if I can get something darker to get a better contrast. Hold on, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So hopefully this is making it a lot easier to see. Alright, so now we're going to use the needle here and we're going to lift under the sensor. Again, the sensor is folded underneath this piece, so there's actually two layers that you kind of need to get underneath. It's probably difficult to see this, but hopefully you get the idea. We're going to lift underneath that second piece to get that sensor up, and you kind of have to work your way from one side to the other. You can't just lift it all up from one corner, otherwise you will just snap the sensor off or tear the sensor off the cable here. Alright, so we're going to go over from the left side, and then we're going to go over to the other side and just pry that up. Okay, these sensors tend to be somewhat tricky to remove. If it doesn't come out, you might have to apply a little more heat. Okay, but just work your way over from side to side here. Alright, hopefully you guys can see. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing while I'm recording, but yeah, okay, there you go. You can see, hopefully you can see that sensor is coming out now. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna go ahead and go over, and there we go. We got the first sensor out. Now we're gonna go over to the other side and get this other sensor out as well. So same thing, it's folded over, so you have to be a little careful. Try and get in the corner there. Alright, and lift that up. If you want, you can lift the whole plastic frame around it out because the replacement screen will have that frame. And then there we go. So now we got both sensors out just like that. Okay, now we're going to have to get the microphone here in this side corner there, and then the little speaker connectors out. So let's heat it up a little bit more. Okay, get the heater back over here. Okay, just make sure it's nice and warm. I usually like to start with the speaker mount or connection points. It's easier to peel that up, so we'll show you here once it's warm enough. Okay, I think that's good. Let's set that aside. Alright, so hopefully you'll be able to see. I like to start with these little 4 gold dots, and then I start at the corner. Alright, and then I'll try and lift that corner edge up here. Just like that. Here you can see I'm lifting this. All right, get underneath. Then we're gonna work our way around that little raised plastic mount, okay? And we're gonna push the thing underneath there to peel that up, those 4 dots, okay? Just like that. All right, so now we got these 4 dots up. We're gonna go over to here on this corner, and we're gonna get underneath the speaker. It helps to also kind of lift up, oops, sorry. It also helps to kind of lift up at this rubber area. So get the tool underneath there, and then go underneath where the rubber thing is here. There we go, just like that. And we're gonna slowly peel this up. All right, just like this. And we're gonna work our way over, slowly peeling this up. Just like that. Okay. And slowly peeling it. Huh, why is it getting caught on the other thing? There we go. All right, slowly peel that up. Just like this, working our way down over. Sorry, it's hard to keep this in camera while I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing. But there we go, peeling up that adhesive. All right, and there we go. Oh, the double stick tape came off, as you can see, so these gold pins are exposed now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna peel that piece off and then transfer it over, okay? Let's go ahead and peel that piece off here. Okay, so this piece of adhesive we want to take with us, okay? So we're gonna peel that up. I'm gonna grab that with my fingernails. You can use little tweezers or pliers or something, but I'm gonna try and peel that off. I cut my one fingernail here, so now it's too short. Let me see here. Okay, peel that up. Okay, get that adhesive peeled up. Wow, this thing is held on really strong. Okay, there we go. So now we got this adhesive peeled up. We're gonna stick it back over here to cover those gold contacts. All right. If you want, you can use the needle or whatever to help hold it. All right. Then we're just gonna grab this line. Oops, sorry. Grab that, line it up, and stick that on there. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we got all the sensors and everything out. We're gonna switch over to the new screen. We're done with this broken one. You can set that aside or put it somewhere so that the broken shards of glass won't get into your things. All right. Okay, so let's clean off the work surface just so we don't get glass shards going into everything. Okay, let me move stuff out of the way here. Okay, make sure to get the glass shards out. Okay, might not be able to see them, but there are glass shards there. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and put this back here so it's easier for you guys to see again. All right, so let's get the replacement screen. So the replacement screen will come with this adhesive here. So if for some reason this microphone adhesive thing is still stuck there, we're actually gonna peel that up. Okay, so I'm gonna use the needle here to remove that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and peel this off. Go. So we got most of that adhesive. Some of it will stick, that's okay if you can't get it all completely off. Just make sure the little hole in the center here is okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and peel this adhesive protector thing off. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up the two dots, the two little holes here for this speaker mount with the little raised plastic dots there, okay? That's how you line it up. Let's get that lined up there, okay? And then push that down, get that held in. And then next we're going to get these little sensors into place, so just make sure they line up. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get these sensors to go into the right place, but yeah, you want to make sure that they go in, and then they should go pretty flat. Oops, sorry, there we go. All right, now that you got those in, you're going to want to kind of hold them there, get the speaker, and then put that into place. Sorry, the silver's making the brightness all messed up. There we go. Get that in. All right, and then just wiggle that. Make sure that it goes into the speaker hole. The way you know is if you try and move this around, it stays in place. Okay, then we'll get the camera into place as well. Go. We're gonna try and hold all of this down at the same time. Sorry, it's hard for me to see what I'm doing while I'm trying to record. All right, there we go. Then we'll get this metal thing and put that back on top. Again, you want to make sure to hold all of this down into place. Then we'll get the screws and put them back. So we'll get this one screw in the corner up here. Okay, get that one screw in. Then we'll get the other screw over here and get that in. Okay, there we go. Once you get those 2 screws in, you can go ahead and let go, and then we're going to get the last 3 screws from the bottom. Oh, I keep getting phone calls. I don't know what's going on, but I'll answer it later. All right. Oops. I might actually have to take this call now, but I'll let it go to voicemail. All right, so I got that one, and then the last screw here. There we go. All right, now we're going to put back in the fingerprint sensor. Let's switch over to the Y000 or Tri-Wing 0.6. All right, so we're gonna flip the phone over here. This one you kind of have to lift up while you're doing this. All right, so we're gonna peel this protective part back a little bit. I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna hold this up with my fingernail here. Oops, sorry. And then we're gonna thread this through the hole. Get that lined up, and there we go. Now that you got that, you can let that drop in. Make sure that this little raised plastic piece goes through that hole there. Okay. Oops, sorry. Now that we got that in, you want to also feel around the fingerprint to make sure it's flush and it's not sticking up or anything. Then you can go ahead and let that protective cover go back on. All right, to reconnect this connector, usually what I do is I have to kind of use my fingernail and push this connector inwards towards the screen. Okay, so just like this slightly. And then we're gonna flop this over and click that into place. So there we go. Now we got that reconnected. All right, so now let's go ahead and put the metal bracket back on. Same as before, we're gonna actually do the fingerprint, the button itself last. So we're gonna get the screws around the outside first. Okay, so let's get that screw, get that in. All right, you wanna loosely fit it so that you can move this around a little. Okay, second screw. It's not going in this hole. There we go. Okay, tighten it in. All right, and then the other one. There we go. Now let's make sure to tighten all those down. Okay, now for the home button, same thing. We're going to want to keep our finger underneath to keep pressure under so you don't push the home button through the bottom. So just like that, tighten it down. There we go. All right, so we got the screen set up. Now we're going to have to reinstall it into the new one. Oh, this phone actually, the screen is missing one screw here. So let's actually transfer it over from the old one. Okay. So that uses a PH0 or JS0 screwdriver. So let me go get that. That screw and just put that one back in. There we go. All right, next thing we're going to do here is to get the screen back into the phone here. Okay, so we got this. Let's zoom out a bit. All right, so this one, it's a little bit tricky to reconnect this. Actually, I might have to zoom in to show this a little bit better. So it might be a little tricky to get this connector back in, but basically you just gotta get it all lined up. Okay, so we're gonna also make sure these cables end up on top right now. Okay, then we're gonna have it go over 90 degrees ish, like that. This cable, you have to kind of like work at it, but try and get it lined up. You'll know it's lined up because when it's in the slot, it won't move around side to side or front to back. All right, let's go ahead and get that. All right, so here you can see it's kind of staying in place. That's how you know it's lined up. And then you can go ahead and push that down, click that into place. All right, make sure it clicked down. There we go. Now you want to be careful because this cable, you don't want to damage it. Let's go over to this side and then same thing. We're going to line these cables up. It helps to kind of look from the side because then you can see where the, I don't know if I can show this on camera. Let's try. So if you look at it from the side here, you can kind of see where the edge, okay, the edge of the connector is to get that lined up with the actual connector on the board itself. So you can do it this way. Again, it's hard to show this on camera. I don't know if you guys can even see that. But then you can make sure it's lined up, and then you can go ahead and push that down and click it into place. Just like that. All right, same thing with the other connector. Make sure everything is lined up. It's a little bit tricky here to put it a little bit higher. So these cables are always a bit tricky to replace. Just be patient, don't try and force it down. Okay, once you get it lined up, you can go ahead and push it into place. There we go. All right, push everything down. Make sure it's all clicked into place. Once you got all of that, then you can go ahead and, make sure to push everything into place. And then once you got that, you can go ahead and push the battery connector down. All right, make sure you don't push the battery connector down until you have everything connected tight and secure. All right, once you do that, you can go ahead and power it on just to make sure everything looks okay. Let's go ahead and hold the power button. Okay, and now it turns on. I don't know if they dropped it on the power button or something. It doesn't click too well, but that kind of thing is like a major repair job, so we're gonna leave that since it kind of works. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put back all the little covers. All right, so let's go ahead and put back the sensor cover. So here you can see it's actually working. You want to test that the home button works, so push cancel and then press the home button, and yes, it's working. All right, so now let's go ahead and put back the little covers, brackets. All right, so get that over there. All right, close that down so it's easier. All right, switched back to the Y000 screwdriver. Let's open this up. Okay, and then let's get this one screw over here first. You want to loosely fit this first, okay? So that way you can kind of move this around to where it needs to go. All right, get the second screw. All right, and then we'll get that in and tighten that into place. Go, tighten the other one. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to do the sensor down here, or not the sensor, the little metal cover. Okay, get that lined up. You only need to get one screw lined up first. We'll switch back to the PH0 or JS0. And then after you get the first screw in loosely, you can move it around and get everything else lined up properly. So get that in. Just like that, and then now you can see you can move that around. Let's get another screw. Okay, get that screw in. Same thing, I like to twist it backwards first to make sure it goes in place. Again, we're just loosely fitting it so that the metal plate can still move around to make sure all the screws go in. Get that screw in, and the last screw. Okay. And we'll just tighten all of them down. Just like that. Alright, what this, there's some like weird powdery stuff on there. Alright, there we go. So now to put the screen back in, you have to slide this side from down and then slide it up. So lift it up slightly at an angle like this, okay? We're gonna slide this up into place. Oh, let's turn that off. All right. So we're gonna slide the top part into place. There you go. Then you should see the little gap disappears. And then to put the rest of the screen back in, well, you can peel this off first. All right. So while you're holding it like this, you want to actually get the bottom, this bottom half in first and leave the center kind of bowed upwards. So it's kind of like this. So when you put the screen, okay. So we're gonna slowly push this side down. Okay, and then we're going to work on this. Oh, if the metal tabs are hitting the outside, you can push them inwards, all right, to get it in. So here you can see it's bowed outwards in the middle. And the reason you want to do that is so that you can make sure that this gap is completely flush here when you push it down. So now that you got these sides in, you can go ahead and work your way down the center. There we go. And then that will push the edges out into the ends of the phone. So there we go. Let's go ahead and put back the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws, and we're good to go. All right, you'll want to test the earpiece speaker, so make a phone call. You can also test the sensor. So there's the sensor in the light sensor in the top of the screen. If you're making a phone call, if you cover it, your screen should go off. And then the other thing you want to test is the microphone. So if you're making a call, make sure people can hear you, of course. And then the last piece is the front facing camera. All right, but that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you guys. Again, if it did, like, subscribe, share my channel with others. Thank you for watching. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing to the channel so I can continue making these videos for a living. And I'll see you all in the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.